I met my wife when we were in middle school. I think I was 12 years old. And we started dating in high school. And then when I was 22, I believe, I proposed, and that's when we got married. We were both working at the time, and we were just doing the very stereotypical newlywed life. We were both healthy, we were both happy. It was pretty much everything that we had asked for. About a year after we had gotten married, our son was born. Our son's name is Easton, and he was a perfectly healthy, beautiful baby boy. That's about when things started to kind of shift. It was about 3 months into having him home. I started having these like dizzy spells or faint spells, and thought that my health was just a result of being overly stressed. But then it kept coming, and it kept coming, and then more frequently and more intense. I ended up having to go to the ER. I was so healthy prior to this, and then it just came out of nowhere where I had these faint spells, and doctors were talking about potential for brain cancer, and we have to go get these tests done and these tests done. And my life was flipped so quickly. The biggest struggle was having panic attacks daily. I was so unsure of everything that was going on. I couldn't trust my body anymore. I didn't feel like I could do life anymore. Once I left my job, that opened the gates of medical tests and diagnoses, and everything was coming back within the numbers. Everything was coming back clear. That was even harder on the mental side of things, because it's like I know something is off. I know something's wrong. So because of these physical symptoms coupled with the constant anxiety, I was completely debilitated. I was spending most of my time either in bed or on the couch because I was too dizzy. I stopped driving. I was pretty much absent completely from my family life. At that point, I was very spotty going to Grace because it was hard to get out and do anything. But I was at Grace the Sunday that Karen had introduced For the One. I felt like Karen was talking directly to me about if you're dealing with mental health issues or struggles in your mental health, we are opening these centers with faith-based counselors, which is something that I was struggling to find. And so I immediately got plugged in with For the One, and I started with a counselor, and I just knew this is the piece that I had been missing. That's when we found out that not only do I have OCD, I was scoring like a 34 out of 40 on the diagnosis test. Understanding that and having that explained to me by this counselor, it was the first time in, at that point, about 2.5 years that I had felt justified or normalized in the way that I was feeling. Now that I have these tools to understand OCD, the physical is not nearly as restrictive as it was. I am able to play with my son now. I am able to drive so much more. I'm able to be a parent again. I'm able to be a spouse again. I'm looking for work. Life is in such a better place now. This can be a factor that I'm dealing with, but it doesn't have to control who I am, and it doesn't have to stand in the way of me living my life. I've started to really just surrender completely to God. God has a plan regardless of if this goes away or not. And I trust that God's gonna use my story to help others who may be struggling, to help others see that just because there is struggle doesn't mean that you can't be close to Christ. And I am happy to announce that we are expecting one more. Knowing what I've gone through and being excited for the second one is such a calming feeling through Christ. In spite of my health not being perfect, life is so much better. Life is good.